another Sunday, part 3, celebration and honoring of Mother Earth. Our planet needs us so much, and we are so happy to be able to bring forward this project both here on Zeta Global Radio and Music to Heal the Earth. And I am so happy to have back Aaron Daniel Taylor. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Aaron, if you listened and tuned in last week, he is the executive producer of the documentary film about climate change that inspired Music to Heal the Earth, We Know Not What We Do, as well as he's the executive producer for Music to Heal the Earth. So we are all gathered here to very, very passionate, and it's not just us. We are here also with many, many voices that some you'll hear today. You'll either hear their voices, their thoughts, their quotes, but this is just a snapshot of people who've really stepped forward to make a difference in this collective project. And we hope you resonate and take hold of what you're hearing today, and hopefully you can make a difference in your community. So how about we just get into it? We have a full show today.
Yeah, we do.
So let's start with going across the pond to Europe. On this album, I think we have nearly 30% of the musicians, the whole collective, volume 1 and on, as well as some of our thought leaders, are from the UK and in Europe. Do you have any sense that you think they're more conscious in Europe about climate change, and maybe the Americans still need to take lessons from pages from people from other parts of the world? Because clearly the demonstration of Europeans who've come on to our M2 Heal album is large and welcomed. So I just wondered if any thoughts on that before we play Adam's wonderful excerpt, and we'll explain what that is in a minute.
Well, I think it would be hard to argue with the fact that Europe as a whole tends to take the climate conversation more seriously, or the climate threat, and that's just examining the politics of it. It's really only the United States of America that is the global outlier, because we pulled out of the Paris.
Yes, of recent times, worse than ever.
Right, and I think there's a reason why, the Paris Agreement happened in Paris, because Europe has been a leader in this regard, even if the practice hasn't necessarily met the aspirations. The aspiration is still there.
Yeah.
In Europe on the political scene, and also there's not this polarized debate about climate change overall.
Right.
On the European continent that there is here.
Well, our first two voices that we're sharing here today are both, I just looked, and both are British. So both Adam Neville and Leon Stuparis. So let's start with Adam. We're going to just get right into it. We have a lot of people who have a lot to say this wonderful hour here with all of us. So for those of you who don't know who Adam Neville is, you might know the book Lost Girl. His books have been turned into movies both on Netflix and in the big screen. And he wrote a book called, as I said, Lost Girl. And just looking on his website, 3 factors compelled me to write this story: a long-term interest in the consequences of runaway climate change on civilization was the foremost reason he did that. And of course, we're going to play here an excerpt from his book, a passage that just gives you a snapshot of what our planet could potentially be. Of course, he wrote this in this post-apocalyptic viewpoint in a story, but what do you think, Aaron? Is it possible? I mean, we'll listen to it, but is it possible that although it's blue skies today, in a matter of years, if we're not taking the what we know now, not what we not know, but what we know now, could it lead to that if we don't really do what we're here to do?
Well, not only is it possible, I think it's likely.
Yeah.
And I think it reminds me of just having the different kind of voices that we have on this album. We heard Ally McGraw last week, who ended on a hopeful note.
Yes,
but I think if you look at what has been popular over the last 10 to 15 years or so, that has gotten a lot of readership, we have to look at what artists are telling us. Think about this whole genre of young adult dystopian literature that's come out, like The Hunger Games, the Maze Runner.
Right. Good point.
Post-apocalyptic worlds. And I think there's a way I talked about last week, how I think that musicians and comedians are sort of the philosophers and prophets of our times, but you could probably also say the same thing about fiction authors and those that write in the science fiction or horror
genres. Yeah,
our artists
exactly.
are trying to tell us something.
All right, well, let's take a listen to what Adam Neville wants us to hear from his book, Lost Girl.
The father nodded at the sea. You keep up with this, so what's next? The old man swallowed half the contents of his pint glass in 3 gulps, then gasped, grinning. Season of hurricanes this year, worse than 2 years back. We'll be going up a notch on the graph. Winds already coming in at 64. No, out there, further out. I've lost touch with so much. The sea? We're waiting, still waiting. Nearly ice-free now, gone for good in a few years, I think. They're still mourning the last of the cod round here, but they won't be coming back. They've gone the way of the pliosaurs. It's the hydrogen sulfide I'd be worried about, under the ocean floor. If it bubbles up, that sea out there will look like jellied sewage. The stink alone would knock you out. I think our descendants will smell that within 100 years. The father smiled. Ironic that it was no longer human emissions doing the most damage to the atmosphere. The Earth's own expulsions had become far more deadly, and the planet now seemed to be pursuing a purpose of its own. Great fields of permafrost were releasing their terrible and long-withheld breath into the air, while the forests and oceans absorbed less carbon dioxide than ever. The father wondered if he was one of the few people remaining who could withstand what the old man predicted. But they had once held court everywhere, men like this in bars, streets, public transport, platforms for their bits of science, an obsession with the news, their Armageddon scenarios. I can't tell you a thing that wasn't already known 40 years ago. And that's the craziest thing. What did we think would happen? We deforested the land to cultivate livestock. We allowed our numbers to burgeon without limit. And we still burnt the coal. That's the only thing that astonishes me. We knew. We've known what was happening for close to a century, but we kept burning the black stuff. No matter how deep the slide into the appalling became, nothing had ever been allowed to disrupt an economy. The planet's been more than patient. It was around for over 4 billion years before we set the first fires to clear the land. But it only took 10,000 years for us to spread like a virus. We've overheated the Earth and dried it out. So it's time for us to leave, I think, don't you? Past is unrecoverable. Extinction is incremental. How long do we have? In less than 10 years, half the species on this planet will be extinct. But this place isn't about us, not anymore, if it ever was. We've already overheated by 4 degrees. Some places are already at 5 and rising, and there must be close to 9 billion of us. The Earth cannot carry us any longer. If I was a betting man, I'd guess that at least 8 billion of us will die back in order for our species to even continue for another couple of centuries. 8 billion over the next 200 years, give or take a few decades. It's more than we can imagine. But I think we're beginning to get the gist of it.
Chills. Oof. What'd you think?
Well, I've been thinking about for a long time. See, I grew up in a church that was obsessed with the end times and the book of Revelation. And
got it.
It's interesting that we're using the word apocalyptic, and that is actually biblical language. And what's interesting is I think that I've noticed is that sort of a secular worldview and people that in sort of like maybe a biblical worldview, that sometimes there's this overlapping, and that a lot of what we see predicted by scientists, that what could and will happen as a result of one runaway climate change is kind of the same type of things that you see in the book of Revelation. When
he was talking about, just in that excerpt, about the gases in the oceans and how that's just going to turn into like green sludge, I immediately felt that because I'm here right now in Florida and our canals are bright green, and we have, unfortunately, I said it last week, but we have sea creatures just unfortunately dead all over our beaches. And when he said that, I'm like, this isn't a fantasy book or a nonfiction book, but I'm watching green sludge in waters right here, 2018. It's happening. So I really take it to heart.
Exactly. And sea levels are rising and they're submerging islands. And that's in the book of Revelation. So it's just, it's interesting when you think about it, that our religions and our scientists, they all seem to be telling us something, that we have to change the way we're doing things for the survivability of our planet. And what's interesting is both world views, and not just biblical worldview or science worldview, but also probably within Buddhism and Hinduism and other religions, they all seem to be open-ended about this question about whether we're going to do the right thing.
Exactly. And I think what we want people to know is that there's not one way, like your way's the right way, your way's the right way. It's all of us doing everything, whatever we believe, whatever we feel, because it's all the right way for doing things towards positive humanity and positive upbringing, caretaking of the planet. So I just, there's no sides. I think that's where it's always been like, well, I believe this, I believe this, but isn't it just we all believe that we want to do the right thing for the world? I mean, that's what we need to be at. So,
well, absolutely. And it seems to me that all religions, unless we're going to talk about like the Church of Satan or something, and they're just usually eccentric atheists, all religions teach this idea that our lives does not consist on the abundance of our possessions, or greed is bad and consumerism is bad, and we have to turn away from that and recognize the simpler things of life that really matter, which is our relationships and doing what is right for people and for all of creation.
Perfect. Well, that's a perfect segue. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to move into peace, because we have Leon Stuparich giving his wonderful viewpoint of his outlook on life, on M2 Heal, on the planet, and his feelings about all of us needing to come into one accord peacefully. So you're listening to Zeta Global Radio here with Lainey Savante Wolkin and Aaron Daniel Taylor. We'll be back in a moment. Spiritual Communities Network invites you to their 7th year anniversary celebration of the mystical and magical date of 11/11, with their upcoming event, SpiritCon, taking place this year on Pine Island at the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens. It's a day to connect, expand, and experience. Free to attend, enjoy a full day of local and renowned speakers sharing their wisdom of spirituality, mystical arts, and health and wellness. Enjoy readings and a variety of booths with many different products for enlightenment and well-being. Sponsored by Muscle Tuners International, Conscious Shift Magazine, the Holistic Chamber of Commerce of Southwest Florida, and our station here, Zeta Global Radio. For more information, please visit spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com. We look forward to seeing you there.
In the depth of a spiritual ceremony, the heartbeat of the drum and shaking of the rattle bring you closer to a heightened state of awareness within. Experience the richness of nature's spirit drums. They are expertly and lovingly handcrafted with an infusion of sacred animal spirit and healing energies. Hand-stitched rawhide rattles used in sound healing, energy clearings, and journey work are filled with the powerful vibration of crystals such as amethyst, citrine, jade, and garnet. Purchase yours today by visiting naturespiritdrums.com. Zeta Global Radio listeners enjoy a special 10% discount when entering ZETA at checkout. For our international listeners, please visit the website on how you may purchase Nature Spirit drums and rattles.
Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience. Welcome back to this wonderful, and also, I don't know, depressing. It's so deeply passionate for me, as well as you, Aaron, and everybody else coming to this wonderful Music to Heal the Earth project, that we want this so badly, and there's so many people out there who don't seem to think it's an issue. So it's so important that we all state our voice. And our next guest, who lent his voice, is Leon Stuparich. Leon is also out of England. Leon is the writer, director, and filmmaker for Road to Peace, a multi-award-winning documentary film featuring His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I encourage you to go to roadtopeacefilms.com and watch Road to Peace, learn about Road to Peace. And of course, we have Leon here, who's a part of our Music to Heal the Earth family, sharing his thoughts. Anything you want to share, Aaron, before we move on to that? I mean, peace. We need peace. If we have peace within ourselves, we could be better to the planet, don't you think?
Absolutely. And just listening to Leon just brings to mind what Mary Piper says, and we know not what we do. She talked about the beloved community, which Martin Luther King talked about, and it's about connecting with others within the context of a moral struggle. And she even puts it in much broader terms of, this could be the end of humans as we know it, or this could be the end of the human species, or we could go on to a world that respects all of life, both humans and plants and animals, and nobody knows which way we're going.
Right. Well, let's take a listen to Leon's voice participation, and look forward to all of you really taking it in for the next several minutes, and then we'll come back on the back end and share our thoughts. Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name's Leon. I'm a film producer and director worked with some of the most amazing beings on the planet, from great masters like Dalai Lama, and it's a privilege and a blessing to be sharing some thoughts with you about this project, about planetary mindfulness today. Where we are right now as a human species, as a shared collective human consciousness, living and experiencing this planet, a great shift is happening. And with all change, it becomes very, very uncomfortable. With all things new, we enter into the unknown, and entering into the unknown, we get into a world where we can either embrace it with wonder and awe, like a child going into the woods for the first time, or we can be afraid and we can be scared, or we can do it like one of the great pioneers and look at it as an adventure of possibilities, of discovery. What can we create? I think importantly, we learn from our mistakes of the past, our experiences of the past, and what it is we want to create going forward, and what it is, if we're going to build something in this new land, what is it we're going to build? I think the big understanding that's emerging right now is really around community and people coming back together, and the fundamental human understanding of togetherness as the tribe that we grew up in, as the tribe that our ancestors grew up in. And the human tribe over the last century has been fractured and dissipated. Now we're feeling this fundamental need to come back together and connect with each other and connect with the planet and connect with the heavens and find our way into the new reality that is emerging from a place of connection, from a place of heart, from a place of being grounded with the earth and the heavens at the same time, to build a place of love, to build a place of peace. Living in the West, learning from the wisdom of the great masters of the East, we're in a unique time where we're going to be combining our skills from the technical, the machine age, digital age, with this ancient knowledge, thousands of years old and beyond, of the fundamental heart of humanity and the planet and the heavens, to combine those together to make industry, art, communities based through a revolution of the planet that will bring us to a place where we can start to imagine peace again. The real problems that we face are there because the light is shining on them. And as the light shines on them, we understand they exist and they're scary. For the first time in a long time, we're looking under the bed and we're seeing with a torch the monsters that are there or not there. By shining that light of consciousness to the monsters that exist within our humanity, we can start to heal, and we can start to become friends with those monsters and start to realize that they are part of us. And that's the big fundamental shift that's happening. Instead of defeating our demons, we realize that our demons are part of who we are, and they're part of the great sphere of humanity, and they serve as much as the gods and the angels serve us. And as we embrace all aspects of the darkness and the light, we stop losing the fear of humanity and the fear of everything that can go wrong, and embrace everything that can go right. And I think all of these projects that are happening around this, Music to Heal the Earth, planetary mindfulness, is emerging into a place where we can finally have hope, finally have love and happiness and peace to bring for our children, our children's children, for the next 7 generations, for the next 70 generations forward, and heal the generations backwards as well. The generation of the 20th century that had the wars, that had the bloodshed, that had the violence, that had the chaos, that had the distrust. It's all part of who we are. We heal that. We acknowledge our past. We acknowledge the atrocities of our forefathers, and we acknowledge the greatness of things that have gone before, and step into the greatness that we are and we will become and we will create. It starts now. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with the work we do. The time for change is always now, and we are far more powerful than we have ever given ourselves credit for. And the power that comes from within, the power that comes through us, will and is changing the world. One person can change the world in a fundamental way. Individuals coming together can fundamentally change the world in an incredible, permanent way. That's my wish, that's my hope, that's my prayer that comes through all the work, all the wonderful work that we're doing now and in the future.
Another really heartfelt, passionate, felt almost, it does feel somber, but it also feels that this isn't our first rodeo. This isn't the first time forever the world's had to look at some of these issues, whether it's finding peace, finding ways to be in harmony with the land, finding ways to get along with each other, finding ways to accept each other. It just seems like it's always been here. And how do we humans break these cycles so we can honor everything and everyone, including the trees, the four-legged, I keep going back to what Ali McGraw was saying, everybody, the winged ones and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what makes it different this time is that we humans have a choice. We can decide our fate. Whereas the cycles that the earth has been through before with other species that have come and gone, they were essentially designed or evolved to follow their instincts. They didn't have control over their own instincts. Whereas we humans, I think we can make a choice. And I think that's what makes it different this time.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Leon, for that wonderful, wonderful participation. Next, we have Karen Noe. And Karen Noe, we don't have her voice, but we have a quote from her. And Aaron, you go ahead and read that. Let me just explain who Karen is. If you she's actually was on our show just recently. If you go back to ZetaGlobalRadio.com, you'll see her recording. She is an author. She's a healer. So a wonderful foundation in New Jersey. She wrote a book called The We Consciousness, and it was really talking about 33 ways to bring peace and planet on the world. And it's absolutely the time is now to make that difference. That came from higher wisdom. It came from up above, higher source. But whether whatever your beliefs are, it seems a running theme that it's critical now that we are acknowledging that. So go ahead and read Erin her quote, and we can talk about that a little bit.
All right, here's what Karen Noe says. Each one of us needs to take the responsibility of maintaining and protecting our beautiful planet that has been entrusted to our care. Global warming, pollution, extinction of animals and plants, and deforestation are real issues that we must take seriously. Very few understand how essential it is to change our lifestyle right now for the sake of our future generations.
Clear as day, end of story. I mean, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And as consumers, we can demand forest trade certified products, in our notepads. We can, eat sustainable fish, or we can choose not to eat meat at all. Mm-hmm. Our choices do affect the planet, and there's really no way to get around that.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karen Noe. If you want to know more about Karen Noe, please go to KarenNoe.com. Wonderful, wonderful human being. In fact, it was Karen Noe who has absolutely invited me on October 24th to be part of the Global Oneness Day and the Global Oneness Summit.com. Please go to it. And I am on the Restoring Mother Earth panel. Karen is actually facilitating it, and she's moderating it, and that whole day she's an integral part of that. So thank you, Karen, for that. You've made a big difference in getting the word out about M2 Heal. So we're very appreciative. Okay, we have another quote before we take a break, and then we're excited because we have more to come in the show, including Ming Tong Gu. If you don't know him, he's Master Ming Tong Gu and Grandmother Florida Mayo, Reverend Michael Beckwith, a lot more on the show. But I'd like to read in this last segment another quote, and these are from Teresina and Martin Bakens. They are healers, shamans, authors, artists, therapists. They are a dynamic duo out of California, and they have been a very big part of Music to Heal for a long time and really understand not only the power of coming together and healing, but also the power of music and its healing qualities. So I would just want to thank them for being a very big part of this. In fact, they were the ones who facilitated this wonderful, wonderful opportunity we were seeing in See Within magazine. If you haven't caught that issue, the letter C, seewithin.com. And we are very thankful to Christine Wilkerson for that. Okay, here's their quote. As therapists working with clients for many years, we have seen that music and the underlying vibrational frequencies, of course, have a healing effect on all of us, assisting to create balance and harmony. From a simple heartbeat to binaurals, theta, and other wave patterns bring relaxation or a base for reaffirming our well-being and growth. We are happy that Music to Heal is a strong foundation, and participants in that form an eclectic mix who offer their talents in music to assist us to align with our deepest nature.
Yeah, it's the power of music to elevate the human spirit to be able to connect with others. And like I said, I'm a bit of a rationalist in that I don't think that music alters the atmosphere and it's going to somehow the
world, yeah,
make less carbon in the atmosphere. But I do think it can elevate our consciousness to help us make better choices, and it can heal our souls in the process.
Yes, I think so. And I know we touched on We Are the World and all these other wonderful topics last week, but it begs the question again, is that when people hear their icons, when people hear people that they respect, emulate, and are inspired by talking about these passionate causes, those are opportunities for them to say, I get that. Like, whatever it is that takes someone to receive that own personal inspiration, that, you know what, I could just recycle that. Why am I just throwing that there? I mean, just small little consciousness elements is, oh, wow, didn't I know that gets into our water system, and our water system does, learn a little bit. And so every little bit helps, and big things help. And then we're talking about corporations, we're talking about, states and countries. So for me, I think music, the one connector is to everything. And you don't need to know the language, you just need to feel that vibration. And that's why this collective is so great, that you don't need to know the language, you just need to feel it. And then some of the words are going to just be very impactful. So I think what they said was spot on.
Absolutely. And it's unique to humans too. We're the only species that gets to do this, that can really process music in this kind of way.
Except I have to say the plant species, I've seen, all those wonderful studies about how plants grow differently when they have music near them. And interesting. Yeah, have you ever seen studies about that? If you put classical music on by plants, they grow differently. I actually just saw on Facebook the other day, they recorded sunflowers and they played music, and then if they were able to tune it up to a certain frequency or something, they were able to hear the sunflowers actually making music, like talking. I mean, there's so many things we don't even know. We don't even know what we don't know.
Right. But I think when I was watching last week a documentary that essentially emphasized the uniqueness of music to humans, and that we're the only ones that can keep a beat and that can process harmonies and things like that. But it is true, that I guess music can have a positive effect on plant life. But
Animal kingdom, right? Big difference on our animals when they have music and when they don't, or even the vibration of water when they put when I don't know if you've seen those studies about water changing the frequencies in water when they put heavy metal music versus classical. I mean, music is very, very powerful. Well, why don't we do this? We're going to take another break. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Muscle Tuners International for being a very big part of our organization. And when we come back, we're going to get right into it with the world-renowned Master Ming Tong Gu, who is the head of the Chi Center in Galisteo, New Mexico, as well as Grandmother Florida Mayo, who is also in New Mexico, and she was formerly of one of the 13 indigenous grandmothers in the council. She has the path, and we're going to talk all about them when we come back.
Isla Mujeres is a Caribbean jewel off the coast of Cancun. Castilito del Caribe warmly invites you to enjoy our spectacular oceanfront villa located in the heart of El Centro and a short walk to Playa Norte, which is ranked one of the top 10 beaches in the world. With an ocean view of crystal clear turquoise waters overlooking both the Caribbean and Cancun city skyline, we offer a fabulous location for you to enjoy all the peace and tranquility you're looking for on vacation, while also taking in all the excitement the island has to offer, with activities either in walking distance or a golf cart day excursion away. Please visit CastilitoCaribe.com, www.CastilitoCaribe.com, and be sure to mention ZGR to receive a complimentary round-trip airport transfer for up to 4 people. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Spirits Row and Unity Church of Bonita Springs are proud to be back this November 3rd for their Psychic Fair, featuring many of Southwest Florida's best healers, psychic merchants, and artists. The full day 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. event will offer a variety of spiritual awareness, health and wellness specialists, readers, products and services to lift and expand you into greater possibilities for living. Arrive early and reserve your reading with your favorite spiritual advisor. The cost is only $5 to attend, and all proceeds will benefit Unity's Children Outreach Programs. For more information, please find us on Facebook at Spirits Row. We look forward to seeing you there.
Muscle Tuners International is a proud sponsor of Music to Heal the Earth, a collection of songs encouraging planetary mindfulness, one song at a time. At MTI, we believe in impacting people in their health and wellness, one person at a time. Discover how to switch on your muscles before you begin your favorite exercise activity for greater results. Better yet, become a licensed muscle tuner specialist and learn our proprietary kinesiology techniques to help others get fitness and recovery results faster. We invite you November 4th and 6th to an Introduction to Muscle Tuning gathering to be held in Southwest Florida at Paradise Wellness and Event Center in Bonita Springs. For more information, please visit www.muscletuners.fit. Be strong, be confident, be tuned.
Welcome back to our Voices show, representing Music to Heal the Earth. And we have with us Master Ming Tong Gu from the Chi Center in Galisteo, New Mexico. Incredibly peaceful human being, and makes me really want to do Qigong. I feel so inspired after getting to know Master Ming Tong Gu, and I'm really touched by his voice participation. So why don't we go ahead and listen to that right now, and then Aaron and I will give some thoughts on that.
when we feeling the call as children of the Mother Earth, we can discover deeper connection with life, with ancient wisdom, with timeless wisdom, with the energy of all creation. From this deep connection, we can truly take care of ourselves, take care of the earth, take care of each other, take care of life, and fully expanding, realizing our potential. By connecting the mind and the body, which is sacred expression, like the Mother Earth, a sacred expression of the creative universe, we can truly experience, embody the full potential as wisdom, as energy, as conscious being on this planet Earth. The disconnection of mind and body is the deepest cause for all disease, for all conflict, for all separations. When we're able to connect mind and body, we can truly connect with the Mother Earth, truly embodying the sacredness, embody the ancientness, embody the wisdom and the creative energy, and become the vehicle, the embodiment of love, joy, compassion, and creativity. We are born with this energy as a baby. This energy still within you. This energy continuously connecting us with the Mother Earth, connecting us with the universe, connecting us with each other. And that's the deep impulse, deep inspiration, deeper empowerment life we can rediscover, we can fully enjoy this presence.
What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I'm definitely hearing this theme of connectivity versus disconnectivity. That there's connectivity between mind, body, and the rest of nature, and then there's disconnectivity, and one leads to sort of peace and harmony, and the other leads to a lot of the problems that we see in the world today. So it's an interesting perspective.
No, it's a wonderful perspective, and I think that's so true. I tell people all the time in my own, when I do readings or with consulting, that you can't have one thing over here out of balance and thinking that everything else is fine. They all relate to each other. It's sort of like the mind-body-spirit connection. That's what Master Ming-Tong Gu was saying, that we can't be unconscious here and conscious there. We can't be unconscious that, as I was saying earlier about where we're putting our trash or what we're putting into the water or what we're disrupting. We're taking trees away that are home to animals and life forms without having some repercussions somewhere. That was really evident in your film, talking about the chemicals that leached into waters and communities and things that have happened. I mean, do you want to just touch on that for a second? Just some of the things that you saw from We Know What We Do on your travels in making that movie? Because it does talk about the unconsciousness of, they think they're being conscious on some level, or I don't even think that. I think that they're doing one thing here and not seeing the 10 other repercussions there.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that this, especially when it comes to the mountaintop removal and just, digging into these mountains and then burying the debris in the streams and giving people cancer. And we saw this with the Keystone Pipeline issue of polluted water and impacting the health of the people in Nebraska and the Great Plains. And just this idea that water is life. We have the poet laureate of Albuquerque that talked about, what if water were currency? How would we treat it?
Hakeem Bellamy, I know him.
Hakeem Bellamy, yes.
He's amazing.
Amazing individual we have in the film. And it's all very true. We can't pollute one part of creation without expecting it to impact another part.
Very true. Well, since we're on a New Mexico theme this segment, let us introduce you to Grandmother Flor de Mayo. She has been on our show through the years many, many times. As I mentioned before we took a break, she formerly was with the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. She is a seed keeper. She's got 40 acres called The Path out there in Estancia. She really helps to preserve the seeds of the planet, seeds that we need to continue, seeds that may be for medicinal use, seeds that can become extinct. I mean, that's her entire passion, is acknowledging the need to honor the mother so we could preserve her as we move forward for future generations. So let me go ahead and play Grandmother Flor de Mayo for all of you.
This is Grandmother Flor de Mayo. I am speaking from New Mexico, the United States. The fabric of Mother Earth has ripped, has been in turmoil. These are the words of the beloved Mother. I had a vision where the goddess said to me, Flor de Mayo, I appear to humanity when the earth is in turmoil. These incredible words have been with me for many, many decades. I saw the goddess when I was a young child, not really understanding what the words were. And as I become older and to become a grandmother, had traveled in the 4 directions and seen the destruction, seen the rivers dry, seen all of the things that are going on around the globe, standing up on top of the mountains looking down, standing down at the bottom of the valley and looking across and seeing the destruction, not only seeing the destruction made by man, but also what man has done that has caused the spirit of nature to react and to send forth in response to what humans are doing to the earth. We're not thinking that the planet is a living, breathing planet. We're not thinking about these things. There's an expression in Spanish that says, ay. And what this is a sound, an internal sound that comes from the depth of a human heart that reminds us that we are now regretting what has happened. That is a sound when we see a destruction that we did not protect, that we were not there to help out with this turmoil on the earth. It is a pain that comes through us, and a sound that it is so vivid, and it reminds us, why didn't I do something? Why did I not do something for the now, for the future? What is going to happen in the future? What about all that is being destroyed? All that lives, all that is organic, all that is dependent on the 4 sacred elements of life, all that is living, all that we are part of, us humans and all that there is. This creation of our beloved Mother, Father, the one that created all of the things, all of the beauty that is around us. I, and the beauty is gone.
Oh, so true. Well, I just once again felt so many chills listening to Grandmother Flor de Mayo. And, for her practices, when she sees visions come through, there's a reason. And you touched on it earlier on the show that we have all these ancient wisdom beliefs. And what's, also amazing is we've got these Native American philosophies. We have biblical philosophies here. We have spiritual philosophies. I mean, we have an entire mix right here, right now, even just on the show of religions and beliefs. But the common theme is that we've seen it, we know it, and we all do not know where this is leading us, no matter what we think, And that's what she says, like, we don't know where this is going, but the signs are telling us that it needs to be looked at right now.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I'm very appreciative of Grandmother Flor de Mayo. I had the honor of seeing her in Tibet, in Kathmandu, Nepal. She was there and lecturing, and would have been nice to be Tibet, but Kathmandu was beautiful, and that is very Buddhist there. And her work goes all over the world, but very important work. But the planet and the elements are so important: earth, air, fire, water, spirit, and the four directions. I mean, that is her platform, and those are all the areas being affected. And I keep thinking about how, we have calm waters, and then these incredible hurricanes come up, and then fire is good for us, but then these fires that just ravaged California last year. And I mean, we're just seeing this rise in intensity with everything, soils that aren't fertile anymore for food. And then, it's pervasive. I mean, there isn't one area, and I don't think there's any area in the world untouched that is, entirely pristine anymore. I mean, if there is, I don't know. But I feel like we're all being impacted. What do you think?
I do, and absolutely, there are scientific reasons for all those things that you just mentioned. The hurricanes are because the water is warmer, and warmer water makes for stronger hurricanes. That's just basic science. The same thing with the wildfires, and that was this year too, by the way, in California. It seems to be every year there's a devastating wildfire season. And they're just getting more and more intense. Yeah, it's not so much about the frequency, it's about the intensity.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to take another break. When we come back, a very, very powerful talk and voice representation from Reverend Michael Beckwith himself from, of course, the Agape Church in Los Angeles. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We'll be back in a moment.
The Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Southwest Florida now has chapters in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, and Naples. If you have a holistic business or practice and want to network with like-minded beings in the medical and healing arts, natural and eco-living and spiritual communities, you're welcome to come to a meeting and see what we're all about. For more information, please visit www.holisticchamberofcommerce.com and select your nearest city. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, Lainey Savante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves. Blessings, everyone. Lainey Savante here, inviting you to the Mystical Magical World Tarot Play Shop, happening October 27th through 28th on the beautiful setting of Green Planet Farm and Gardens on Pine Island here in Southwest Florida. I want you to experience, and I'm looking forward to it myself, a total immersion of learning, being, and embodying our divine archetype as shown in Tarot's major arcana. Discover the depth of who you truly are and step into its power. I myself can't wait for this. The event is being facilitated by Teresina and Martin Balkans, the incredible creators of the 5th Tarot deck, which I use myself when giving readings through intuitive wisdom. They are masterful, wise, and will help you bring forward the new you. Consider it a high vibrational take on Halloween, complete with costumes, props, and the feeling of really being a kid again. We could all use that, right? Well, there are limited spots available for this, so register now at thefifthtarot.com, and I'll see you soon. Well, I know a lot of you know who Reverend Michael Beckwith is from Agape Church. And thank you, Reverend, for being here, participating in Music2HealtheEarth project, Planetary Mindfulness. Look forward to sharing with everybody his voice recording.
I like hearing different perspectives, though.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's hear his perspective for all those who don't know him. You get to know him. For those of you who know him, I think you'll enjoy this. Not because of what he has to say, but because of the energy he always brings with any of the work that he does. He's a very, very passionate speaker. He's been on the movie called The Secret, very big church in LA, friends with Oprah, the whole 9 yards. So let's listen to what he has to share about this critical topic that we're talking about here today.
Peace and blessings. This is Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder of Agape International. I just want to say that we're at a time in our life where there's so many systemic issues on the planet that have extinction written all over them if we as human beings do not rise up and do the greater things that we're called to do. We're talking about climate weirding. We're talking about the degradation of our environment. We're talking about the degradation of our rainforests. We're talking about the pollution of our oceans. We're talking about so many things that humanity is doing that's bringing about a negative impact on planet Earth. We must love our planet. We must revere planet Earth. We must see it as a living being and do everything individually and collectively to ensure that this generation and the next generation are able to survive on this planet. And so in this awareness, I offer this prayer. We turn within in this moment and we begin by giving thanks that we exist. We give thanks right now that we are alive. We give thanks that all of the power and all of the presence and all of the love is loaded and coded within us. And we begin to recognize the great presence that is everywhere and become so unified with it consciously that the word that I'm speaking right here and right now is the word of law. I speak it for all humanity, that the creative impulse within us, we awake to it, that we can rise up to the true meaning of our destiny and be the living stewards of the planet, not just takers, not just hoarders, not just users. Where we can rise up and be the great stewards of our planet in such a way that we leave a vibrational footprint of love and ecstasy and beauty and harmony on this planet. No more parasites, but custodians, gardeners, and stewards. That's the prayer for all of humanity, that we rise up and make a mighty difference individually and collectively, re-enchant our imagination that we may begin to see the great possibility and walk in that direction. I feel it in my bones. I give thanks for it. And I know everyone who hears this prayer will be moved to listen to the next thing they're about to do and ask the question, does it help or hinder the planet? Does it help or hinder humanity? And we choose the high road. And so it is. Amen. Peace and blessings, everyone. You know what's right. Do it.
Woo! What do you think?
Wow. If I could just kind of give a sort of closing perspective of how my contribution to this and with his voice and what this all means to me.
I'm so glad you said that, because that literally was going to be my question. How are you taking all this in, hearing all these people sharing? So it's the same question. So yes, I even want to know this.
what comes to mind is when I was listening to the Reverend is that we cannot separate the spirituality of this matter from the science of this matter. That I think we begin with the science. We have a problem, and it's a scientific one. And Bill McKibben said this, and he was speaking at a church when he said this. He said, and he was talking about Martin Luther King in his quote. He says, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And then he said, "But the arc of the physical universe bends towards heat, and it's doing so rapidly." So, and what that communicates to me is that regardless of what belief you come from, the science is very clear that we have a problem. But where we need the spirituality of this is that the spiritual perspective can, I think, elevate us as people to make the right choices to address the scientific matter. And I think regardless of what perspective you come from, I tend to see God as a more personal being and as a creator, and we've made wrong choices and we need to do right by that. But I think regardless of where you come from, there's the moral perspective that usually tends towards justice, but then there's the physical perspective of that's not what is happening right now. What's happening right now is we are in a crisis. And if we're going to get out of this crisis, we are going to need all hands on board. And we're going to need some sort of spiritual renewal so that we as humans and as the human race, who we are the difference between now and in the past is we are conscious. We can contemplate our own extinction, whereas other species that have gone extinct could not. So that's why we need some sort of spirituality to undergird a moral movement to make the change in the world to avert the potential catastrophe that the science is pointing towards.
Well, that's all we need to say. That's without a question, no doubt. Thank you, Aaron, for being here and for helping navigate through all of this that we're doing, this big project, this big concern, and this big endeavor that we want to invite the world to consider being a part of as well. Looks like we're just a couple weeks away from this album release, and we absolutely look forward to you visiting us at m2heal.com. If you feel called to donate to this project, that's certainly welcomed. We are looking forward to bring this album across the world, creating awareness concerts that will allow us to bring these wonderful musicians and participants and hopefully our spiritual leaders and celebrities, and everybody's going to come to the party here, and we'd love for all of you so you can start rising up too in your own communities and letting the people in your world know that we matter, the planet matters, and everything that we're doing here is significant. So, and we're doing it through the power of love and connection of music. So thank you, Aaron, for being here today. Thank you to everybody. Yes, thank you for everybody who participated in your voices. This has been a 2-year collection, and we look forward to even bringing more voices, more leaders, more influencers, more people who are resonating to what we're doing all together. We wish you a very, very blessed week. Look forward to seeing you again and again. In 2 weeks, we'll be announcing the release of Music to Heal the Earth. Thank you and God bless.